What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 2 of my Tales of Daegon web series, where I, to the best of my ability, give you a personal take on the important aspects of my book series. Before I get started, I just wanted to announce a few things. I don't have a set recording schedule for these videos. I'm still new to YouTube as far as making content is concerned. I'll try to work that out in future videos. Secondly, I'd like to announce that my original 4-book series has gone up to 5. It seems I have a lot more ground to cover with plenty of material to work with. If I put any more into one book, it could be too much, so I figured an additional book that gives more backstory to the main character, Amelia Apex, would be more fitting, and the narrative would flow more fluently throughout the book. So that's what I decided to do. So without further ado, this episode I will be talking about Daegon's primary livelihood and vital resource for all of her inhabitants, synapse beams. The image you see on screen is a primary example of what a synapse beam looks like. When the planet's hollow sphere found its place in the western corner of exospace, the aura fragments it collected transformed into free-flowing beams of energy. As Daegon would come into its own later on, these fragments would be known as synapse beams. Now, synapses are bundles of information stored into a single neuron, moving in transit from one neuron to the next. Each beam has a gap providing additional outlets for one's memories to be placed. To put it in layman's terms, all of Daegon is one giant brain, filled with synapse beams just waiting for a life form to absorb its mysteries, everything it has to offer. This is the primary function of a synaptic being. A synaptic life form is a precious thing. Each one has a role to play, one being a vessel to absorb a synapse beam. During the planet's infancy, these beings were portrayed as messy canvases. With the curious sort, piecing his or her life together can provide meaningful outcomes. In a future video, I will explain another vital function of a synaptic, and that is the element of free will. Amelia Apex was the first artist to create her first life form. Another example of how a synaptic is materialized is how an average Joe or Jane gets ready for a night out with friends. Makeup, cologne, the show-stopping dress, a fresh haircut, or just a shower and casual wear. Synapse beams provide endless ways for a synaptic to establish what kind of life they want, at a price. When one touches a beam, every nerve and orifice endures a reinvention phase. Everything starts with the brain. It's quite beautiful if you think about it. Storing all kinds of memories, endless possibilities and such. Like a bone marrow transplant, a synaptic's reinvention phase finds the empty spaces that makes a life form feel complete. The first part is physically inputting a preset of one's past life in them, a test drive, if you will, to see if a certain lineage suits them. This process can range from 5 minutes to an entire month, and that's in Earth time, for a synaptic to inherit vital traits to function in society. On year 6 of Daegon's existence, patches of land came into being. Amelia had no idea what was going on. Being portrayed as a giant brain, the planet was capable of growing life for itself. She felt a sense of accomplishment, an emotion seldom felt as she was fulfilling her purpose as an artist of sorts. Eventually, one synaptic beam became 3, 3 went to a dozen and a dozen reached close to 100. On the 8th year of the planet's existence, over 207 synaptics were materialized. These routes were varied and diverse across the land. Although the entirety of Daegon was barren, the sky above was luscious with synapse beams, which manifested into different colors. Each color, such as ruby red, ocean blue, jasper purple, even the more elusive synapse beams were dark gray and flourished throughout the landscape. By year 12 of Daegon's existence, Amelia savored a different color that had a compilation of purples and sunset reds that were bestowed on 222 synaptic beings. Their minds were exposed to a plethora of world-building practices that led to the first livable society, which would be later known as Little Star Waves. Daegon's population knew it was on the right track, but they had many miles to go. This concludes episode 2 of the web series. Thank you so much for watching. If you have Facebook, you can check out the link to the Ashes of Daegon book series in the description below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Spread the word to anyone who is a sci-fi fan, fantasy, anyone who likes a form of escapism from the real world. And until then, see you next time.